Christmas Eve, December 24th. It's just about noon. I'm here getting lunch ready. Your dad should be home in about an hour. Also, about 1 p.m., the missionaries in our ward are arriving to have lunch with us. Originally, they had planned on having Christmas Eve dinner with us, but they're going this afternoon and evening over to the Temple Visitor Center to serve as guides and to welcome the people and to hopefully have a chance to share the gospel a little bit. Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are difficult times to track, as I'm sure that you're very much aware. So I thought this was a good solution for them. I don't know how many of the missionaries are going to be there. I think they're taking turns on different shifts. Ours, I think they said that they will be there from about 4 this afternoon until sometime later in the evening. So Merry Christmas, Kirk. This is a special time of the year, and I hope that it's a good time for you. You'll have to tell us what happens in Chile on Christmas. How is it different from here in the United States? How is it the same? What are some of the things that happen? Stephen is here now to talk with you. Come on, Steve. Okay. Say hello to Kirk.
Kirk? Hi, how are you? Oh, I got a new model. It's a aircraft carrier. It's USS Kitty Hawk. It's got 15 planes on it. They're small.
This year we decorated the artificial tree. We have it up in the living room. I miss having a live tree, but I do appreciate the fact that this one doesn't have any needles to shed. We put the red lights on the 2 Alberta spruce just outside the front door. The white lights need to be replaced. We got those out and I tried to put some of them on, but realized that there were big blank spots. I know last year you were able to get most of them working most of the time. No, it was the year before last, wasn't it? We were in Utah last year. Well, anyway, the white lights just didn't seem to want to work properly. Too many big areas without the lights lighting up. So we used the red ones, and they look nice. We have a nice evergreen wreath on the front door with a red bow on it. We have a red bow and some holly on the lamppost out in front. So things look very festive here. It's now Christmas night, about 7 p.m. We certainly enjoyed talking to you today on the telephone. Even though we talked for quite a while, it seems like there's a lot of things that we should have talked about that we didn't. It's hard to talk on the telephone, but it was good to hear your voice. It's a way to know that you really are okay. We appreciate your letters, and I especially enjoyed the tapes. It's nice to hear from you and to hear your companions and hear you interacting with one another. It sounds like you're really enjoying these companions, this companion that you have now, and the chance that you have to interact with some of the other elders. That was special that you were able to have a baptism on Christmas morning. Very special day to do it. We had a good day today, though it was quite quiet. We actually went to a movie this afternoon. We don't go to movies very often, so that was something very special to do. We saw the show A River Runs Through It. It's about a family that did a lot of fly fishing in Montana. It has very pretty scenery. It was an excellent movie. We talked to each of the girls today. Charlene is feeling well, and I guess maybe you had a chance to talk to both Charlene and Julie. We did talk to Julie after you talked with her, so we knew that you had a chance to talk with her. Renee and Dan got to Oregon, to Dan's parents' place, and they had all of Dan's family there. This was Renee's first Christmas not to be around us either, and so I think it was different for her. And she said that the Perdues don't do very much singing of Christmas carols and things like that we've always done here on Christmas Eve. Your dad hasn't played the piano too much for us this Christmas. I think he doesn't like to do it so much when he doesn't have anyone that will sing. He misses having all of you here to sing with the piano. Stephen has had a lot of fun with this little helicopter propeller that you sent to him. I would have thought that he had seen them before, but he had never seen them. And there's so many things that you've had or that you've done that I just assume that he has done also, because it's hard for me in my mind to distinguish, what are the things that he's done and which it was you. I just don't keep track very well. I remember you had one of those propellers and that you enjoyed it very much. We now have 2 sets of missionaries in our ward. They had transfers this past week on Wednesday, I believe, and so the Swedish elder, Elder Jonsson, was transferred, and we got another elder to replace him, and then we got a set of sister missionaries. We haven't met those yet, but it means that we're going to have a lot more dinner assignments filled by members of the ward, because we're supposed to provide dinners for the missionaries every evening in homes of members of the ward. This cuts down on their expenses. So as a member of the Relief Society presidency, that's one of my responsibilities, is to make sure that the missionary dinner calendar is full in advance. And we'll have to have a separate calendar for the sisters than we do for the elders. One of their requirements is that they go to different homes. They don't want one family to have all 4 of them at a time. The elders are to go to a different home than the sisters. So that will be a challenge. The sister missionaries are living in the Banks home. They have the 2 girls that came home for Christmas. Let's see, it was Christy and Katrina that were here for Christmas. Katrina sang in our Relief Society lesson on Sunday, and Christy played the piano for her while she sang. She certainly has a beautiful voice. Their sister Marla is on a mission in California, so I guess they have plenty of room in that big house for the sisters to live. I'm sure they have a lot of privacy and a lot of chance to. It's a good place. I'm pleased that the Banks were willing to let them live there. Our Relief Society president, Sister Miller, has been out of town the last week. Her husband's parents became ill suddenly, and then the other counselor in the Relief Society presidency has been ill. Our secretary has been out of town on vacation, so I've been the only functioning member of the Relief Society presidency this week. It's made it very difficult because there were several things that needed to be done in a compassionate service way, getting ready for Christmas and during this month of December. So I was the one that had to do it, and I was the only one there to conduct Relief Society on Sunday. I called on some others to help me, but it was still difficult to see that everything got done that needed to be done. I'll be glad when Sister Miller's back in town. Michelle Bishop is the other counselor in the Relief Society, and she's pregnant, expecting her 6th child. And during the first few months of her pregnancy, she always becomes very ill. So much so that she has to spend most of her time just right down in bed. And it's hard for her. So we've been providing some meals and things over there. One of the things that morning sickness does is make it impossible sometimes for a woman to do much cooking or taking care of her family. Cooking in particular makes women extra sick. Food is not what they want to smell when they have morning sickness. They can sometimes eat it okay if someone else cooks it and they don't have the smells in the house ahead of time. Charlene was very lucky that she really didn't have much morning sickness. I guess that was a blessing. She's been so worried about so many other things that it's a good thing she's actually felt better than some women do. She's getting very excited about the prospect of the baby. She's about halfway through the pregnancy. The doctors told her that everything seems to be going fine. So she's relieved and feeling good about that. Gary's going to be in town all week long. So maybe they can have a chance to relax and do some things together. They're wanting to get some of their things packed up and put in storage first, so that they'll have room enough for things for the baby, but also they'll be leaving Provo sometime this summer, going to Texas, probably to San Antonio, and it will be shortly after the birth of the baby when they go. And so Charlene's not going to be very much able to do things then, so she wants to get done as much as they can right now. Her baby will be born cesarean, so she'll have major surgery, which means that even what normally can be done, she won't be able to do. I guess you found out when you talked with Julie that she's been sick with bronchitis and finally got some medicine from the doctor yesterday. Grandma and Grandpa Stoker seem to be doing fine. We talked to them today. They're staying inside pretty much with the cold that Utah has. There's quite a bit of snow on the ground, even though the roads are clear. I think the last few weeks they've had a lot of snow, much more so than you had last winter out there. You had the gray days, but you didn't have a whole lot of snow on the ground. Be interesting to find out what kinds of winters Chile has. Did you ever find that white shirt that I sent in the Christmas box? It's interesting that you didn't find that. I'm wondering if someone opened the box and took it out. You know, everything that was in the box had to be declared on the outside on the customs declaration, and so I had written down that it had a shirt in it. Was the customs form still on it when you got it? The customs form was on your package, I noticed. But I had written on that little blue paper that it had a shirt and audio tape and books and candy and things. So let me know if you don't find it, because I guess I'm going to have to itemize for you the things that I send so that you can tell when things are missing. Since then, we've sent 2 other small packages. One that had some of the lollipops in it and a little present from Stephen, and another one which is in one of the padded mailing bags, which is some candy in a tin that had some of the toffee, the English toffee that your dad always makes for Christmas. And I believe there was an audio tape again in that one from the Tabernacle Choir. So let us know if those arrive. It'll be interesting to hear. If there are things that you feel you need money for, don't hesitate to get permission to use some of that money we put in your account. You know, particularly if you know the specific thing it is you need, like cleaning. Now tell them that you want, $20 or $30 or whatever it would take to get all of your suits and pants cleaned and get the extra money out, because they obviously have not allotted for that in the monthly allowance that you're given. I will continue to try and send some cash through the mail, and hopefully that will help keep us informed on how things go financially, or if you have any suggestions for what we should do, let us know. Stephen and I are still reading in the Book of Mormon almost every day. It reminds me that we haven't read today. We are almost through the Book of Ether. Now, we skipped some, so we need to go back and pick up the parts that we skipped. We read all the way through 1st Nephi and most of 2nd Nephi. But then when we got to some of the prophecies of Isaiah, Stephen was getting bored, so I moved forward into the middle of the book of Mosiah before we started reading again, and we need to go back and pick up. I don't know how much of those prophecies of Isaiah I'll read with him, but I know I can start with Enos and read from Enos to the point in Mosiah where we began with him. He is understanding more of it and is certainly reading better and is enjoying it, I think. And it's good for me as well as for him to study those scriptures and remember them. We finished reading all 3 of the books in the White Mountain series. I guess it's the White Mountains, the City of Gold and Lead, and the Pool of Fire. And Stephen came home from school the other day and told me that there is a 4th book that actually comes before the book of the White Mountains, also by John Christopher. The first one in the series is called When the Tripods Came. I don't know if it was written first or what. Did you ever read that one? But evidently it comes before the book of the White Mountains, so he wants to get that one and read it. Most of that series I read to him, and then he would read a few paragraphs or a page every once in a while, but it was a little more difficult than he could sit and read or read equal amounts that I did. But he certainly enjoyed the books and got excited about them. Now I have to decide on something else that the 2 of us can read together in addition to the scriptures. Maybe we'll do Where the Red Fern Grows, or he's familiar with that story from seeing the movie, and I don't know if he would like it as well, since he already knows what the story is, as he would have if we had read it before he'd seen the movie. Do you have some suggestions? Any books that you read at about that age that he might enjoy? Stephen's not much for talking on the telephone. Somehow it's hard for him to talk when he's not looking at someone face to face. I guess all of us feel that. It wasn't that he had anything against talking to you in particular. He didn't spend much time talking to his sisters on the phone today either. He does very much enjoy your letters and has appreciated the tapes. So please do continue to write and to specifically talk to him on tapes and letters, because that is important and he appreciates it, even though he has a hard time answering back or communicating on the telephone. And it was really great to hear your voice. I missed having all of you kids home this year. It's very different. In decorating the tree, I looked at the different Christmas ornaments and thought about some of the experiences in years in the past and things that we've done together, particularly at Christmas time. It's a special experience to have a family and children. There are times that don't go as well as they should, but there are good times too, and I certainly love all of you and want the best for my family. We're proud that you're willing to serve the Lord and to be a missionary. I know you'll do a good job and that you will really strive to preach the gospel and bring people to Christ, to be the instrument in the Lord's hand in giving them that gospel. As you mention quite regularly, it's not the missionaries that do the converting, it is the Spirit that they gain from reading the Book of Mormon and through prayer. But at least you have the authority and the responsibility to share that testimony with others and to invite them to read the Book of Mormon and to be baptized. It's a tremendous responsibility and wonderful opportunity that you have. And I know that's what the Lord wants you to be doing right now, sharing His gospel and taking it to those people in Chile. He's obviously prepared them for it. And that, I think, makes it even more essential that you do your part. If they weren't ready to receive it, they wouldn't. And the fact that you're baptizing so many people are willing to listen and are touched and feel that what you're teaching them is true is an indication that they have been prepared for the gospel. Beginning the first Sunday in January, our Sunday meeting schedule moves to 11:30 instead of the 9 a.m. sessions that we've had. I've enjoyed going to church early in the morning this past year. It's easiest for me to do it that way. We seem to get up early anyway. Your dad usually wakes up between 5 and 6, and we're ready to begin the day. And if church doesn't begin until 11:30, it's easy to waste that morning and not spend it doing the studying and letter writing and things that we really should be doing while waiting for church. I'm going to have to make a point this coming year to use that time in the morning productively and write the letters that I should and study the scriptures more and read with Stephen. You haven't mentioned what you thought of the excerpts I've put in the family newsletter from your letters. Do you mind me doing that? Now, since you wrote the one letter yourself, now I think I will just wait and let you write in the newsletter what you want to put in, and not put in excerpts like I've done in the past. I think the family members have enjoyed hearing from you. Now, I told you that one of the reasons I put some of the excerpts in that I did was because Grandma Carlson asked me to put in some of the things you'd said about the food. She feels like some of her grandchildren are far too picky eaters, and that they need to be aware that the rest of the world eats a lot differently than we do, and that they appreciate foods that many of us are unhappy with, and that we need to be willing to eat different kinds of things and to appreciate them and accept them. So that's why I put some of those things in.
Hi Kirk, it's Sunday afternoon. Did you get the rabbit's foot that was in the box with lollipops? I hope you like it. For Christmas I got Mommy cookie jar. It's a cat. It's about a foot tall. You'll have to see it when you come back. And also for Christmas I got the new Space Police. New Space Police Lego stuff. And they're really neat, and I put them together. And at the zoo they got a new Amazon exhibit, and we might go there tomorrow. I'm not sure though, but we might go later this week. Kirk, thanks for giving me that helicopter. It's really neat, and I don't know how far it can go, but it can go pretty far. And also for Christmas I got a new skateboard. It's really good and the wheels go really fast, and it goes almost as fast as yours. And I put your skateboard in my room because I'm not going to be using it now that I have my own skateboard. And today for lunch we got some new sister missionaries. They came over for lunch. And with my camera I took pictures of our Christmas tree, when the presents were under it, and when they were all opened. And the thing that's really weird, Tiger was always sitting underneath the tree. I don't know if he likes it there. He probably does. And also I have pictures of Tiger underneath the tree, which you'll get later on.
Hello, Kirk. Guess who this is? It's Sunday the 27th of December, 1992. I just listened to the tape that your mother and Stephen recorded, and they have said all the news, so there's nothing left for me to say, I suppose. Anyway, Christmas without you here was kind of different. Matter of fact, last year, of course, we had everybody together in Salt Lake and Provo and so forth, and it was fun. But this year it's a bit boring, just the three of us. Well, I'm going to have to do something next year to make it more exciting. In fact, I told Charlene, since they would be migrating to Texas, that we would spend Christmas in sunny San Antonio next year, so maybe that's something we might plan for. Who knows? Of course, if we go to San Antonio, we'll have to go to Oregon and Berkeley and Salt Lake too, so I don't know what'll happen. Maybe we'll have a traveling Christmas next year. Who knows? We hope that you had an enjoyable Christmas. I'm sure it's different to have summer at Christmas time and no snow. That was unusual for me to get used to in Brazil. But it happens in half of the other side of the world, at least. So that's a new experience. Enjoy it, because it'll go quickly, and then you won't have the opportunity for many, many years to enjoy Christmas in a foreign land, perhaps. I don't know how much world news you get to hear about, so maybe I'll tell you a few things, some of the highlights. The big thing that occurred recently is President-elect Clinton finally named all his cabinet members. That was his goal, to have it done by Christmas, and he has done so, and he has named some very, very impressive people. Quite a range of diversity in his choosing of the cabinet. I think there are many black people and many Hispanics and many women, as well as, of course, the mainstream of society. But I think the news commentators are all very complimentary to him. Of course, the news media have been very supportive of Clinton ever since the campaign started. You could say that they're very pro-democratic. But anyway, things look very encouraging, and the economy is picking up. The businessmen in the area are just jingling with joy because of the big sales that occurred in this area during the holiday season. In fact, someone said this was the best holiday season in Washington since 1986. So things seem to be very encouraging. I suspect there's a lot of optimism in the economy now that a new president has been elected, and things hopefully will move forward in a more positive way. At least the economists have now declared that the recession is over with. I don't think the people have perceived that yet. Of course, they did not have that impression during the election. And I think perception is perhaps more important than what the facts and figures are on black and white. But anyway, supposedly the recession's over with, and we're in an upswing at the present time. But there's still a lot of unemployment, a lot of homeless people in Washington. It's terrible to walk the streets in Washington and see so many homeless people on the streets and having to come out to ask for handouts. And there are even children, mothers with little children, sitting on the corner asking for things. It reminds me a lot of Latin America when I was in Brazil and elsewhere. Poverty is a great thing in those countries, I guess. It's just in recent years that we've been affected by this type of situations. Land of plenty seems to be running out. On the international scene, of course, maybe you've heard that the United Nations is now in Somalia. The United States are taking the initiative there. They've landed during the last couple of weeks, and the Marines are all over the country trying to put food in the hands of the Somalis. Things are going very well. There have been no incidences to speak of, although there was one American civilian who was killed because of a mine explosion. But other than that, there have been very minimum casualties, and things are moving along very, very well. Many countries have joined in, sort of like the Kuwaiti situation. Many countries have joined after the United States came in. Of course, it's mainly the Western countries that are doing this, but even Japan has sent some troops over to be part of this operation. I suspect now that it's been a successful event, everybody wants to chip in and share the success. The United Nations have taken the lead on this, and the Secretary General is very excited about moving ahead and establishing a government there. Apparently anarchy reigns in Somalia extensively, and they've got to build a new infrastructure, and bring the country back to a civilized state. But the first thing they're doing is trying to flood the country with food to make food no longer a weapon. So I suspect a new world order is in its making, and the United Nations is going to take a more active role in peacekeeping and economic development, social security, and so forth. Last week at the OAS, President Bush came to the OAS and signed the North American Trade Agreement. This agreement makes the biggest common market in the world. It unites Canada, United States, and Mexico in a common market. And the presidents of the three countries signed simultaneously in their respective countries that agreement. This happened a week ago last Thursday. And of course, the OAS was headlined. President Bush gave an excellent address. I was very pleased to read it. And he gave lots of accolades to the OAS, and it was nice to hear some good positive things about the OAS. Of course, Bush has been very pro-international, supporting international the organizations, having been an ambassador to the United Nations for several years. He has an appreciation of what the international community can do. So he was very complimentary to the OAS and of course, the trade agreement. And he indicated also that they're now moving ahead to try and get Chile to join into this agreement. This is nothing new. This has been mentioned for the last 6 months. So you may be hearing something in Chile about that country joining the North American Trade Agreement. I wouldn't be surprised that this is an agreement that all the countries will finally end up joining in the hemisphere. So it should be a great opportunity for trade and better times for all countries, particularly the United States, because the United States has its greatest trade surplus in the hemisphere. And we should be looking at our own interests in our own backyard, and perhaps less so in Japan and Europe. Another development that President Bush did is that he gave a pardon to all the key people that were involved in the Iran Yates situation. Caspar Weinberger, the former Secretary of Defense, was going to be put on trial next week, but the President pardoned him. And several others, key people, I think there were about 17 people altogether, that he issued a pardon to. And of course, this has caused all kinds of problems in the nation. Some people are very grateful that he did that. Other people think it's a miscarriage of justice, that he himself is guilty, and all kinds of comments are going on. But I suspect that in a week or so things will blow over, and this will go down as one of his assets or liabilities in the history books. I don't know which. But apparently that issue is going to be taken off the burner and be put to bed for history to delve into. President Bush is going to Somalia this coming week for New Year's. He's going to meet the troops over there and to have a New Year's with them. And also the Secretary General of the United Nations is going to be there at the same time. So that's going to be an interesting event to see what goes on. The Secretary General of the United Nations is very eager that the United States and other troops stay there longer than they had planned originally, to keep some kind of order and restore the infrastructure. So maybe they will work out some kind of compromise where some of the troops will remain for quite a while. The United Nations, of course, is involved in a lot of peacekeeping operations in the world, Cambodia being one, of course. I'm not taking any time off during the holidays. A year ago, when we went to California or to Utah, several people said that I had to stay at the office this year because they wanted to take off. So I agreed that I would stay at the office this year. But ironically, the ones who complained are also staying this year, so it's interesting. But next year I'm going to tell them we're not going to be around during the holidays, so someone else will have to keep the office going. Of course, going to the office during Christmas, New Year's holiday is very pleasant because there's no traffic to speak of, and many people are away, and you get a lot of things done that ordinarily can't get done. It's a good time to actually go to the office. And since the weather's been wonderful so far, this year has been fantastic in Washington. We've had no snow to speak of. What did come down turned into rain shortly thereafter, and the rain totaled 4 inches in 2 days. And it's been no snow since then, fortunately, and it's been rather pleasant. I hope this continues on and we don't have any snow in Washington. Of course, I know the school kids are unhappy about that. They like to have snow so they have a holiday. When it snowed about 2 weeks ago, Stephen was very, very happy to find out that school was closed that day, and he had fun while the snow lasted, but it didn't last very long. Grandma Carlson is coming to see us in January. She indicated in some of her correspondence that she planned to come to Washington area in January. We're trying to tell her to come during the inauguration. That's a good time because there are several holidays during that time, and school will be out, and we can probably do something together. She may want to see the inauguration in person, I don't know. But I think she's planning on coming sometime next month. Lou still hasn't found a job, and they're still out in Springville. Apparently he's getting somewhat discouraged because of lack of opportunity for employment. I suspect as the economy picks up, maybe things will get more improved for him. I think he ought to come to Washington and just start pounding the streets and trying to find doors that might be open to him. I suggested that he send us a resume and see what we can do to help. But I really think if he wants to come back to Washington and he feels that this is where the jobs perhaps are best for his field, international law, that he should come here and just start pounding the streets, walking the streets and knocking on the doors and doing some networking. That's the only way to get a job, I suspect. Today was Jeff Yates' homecoming. The Yates, of course, are going to the Dulles branch. We haven't seen them for quite a while. But he did make his report in our ward, and then he said about an hour later he was going to Dulles branch and make a similar report. He has changed a tremendous amount, I think, since he left. I think he's grown at least 2 feet. He's very, very tall and slender. And I guess he's like his mother. He gave an excellent talk. It took about 20 or 30 minutes and talked about experiences, which the congregation, I think, enjoyed very much. And he has done very, very well, it seems. He's leaving shortly to go back to school at the Y, and I guess we won't see him until next summer. We haven't seen Corey, I guess, because his parents go to the Dulles branch. That's where he's been. Maybe he will show up one of these Sundays, I don't know. But he's supposed to leave the last part of January for the Mission Training Center. You know that he is going to the Kiev, Ukraine mission. Eric Parker, I think you know, received his call. He is going to the Fresno mission, I believe, Fresno, California mission. And he's very, very excited about it. He did not want to go to Finland or any place over there, in spite of his mother's hoping that he would go to that area of the world. He is very happy with his going to California, and he's leaving sometime in January too. Yesterday we went to Pecos for pizza. We invited the Beardalls to come with us, and Philip, of course, was back. We had an enjoyable time having pizza at Pecos. They had never been to Pecos before. I think they seemed to enjoy it. And then afterwards they insisted that we all come to their house for ice cream. So we went there and had ice cream. Philip's enjoying school, although he feels very frustrated as to what he's going to major in. He's taking a science course or curriculum at the present time. I suspect he will probably go on his mission in the summer when he returns. They seem to be doing well, and Stephen and his wife and David and his wife are still out in Provo. I suspect that they did something together. I understand that Stephen's wife's parents came from Oregon to be with him. Tiger has enjoyed the Christmas tree immensely. He finds it very convenient to lie under the tree. I guess he thinks he's outside, but doesn't have to worry about the cold weather out there. He spends all of his time under the tree. When the presents were under it, there wasn't much room for him. But now that they've been removed, he can have free access to the tree, and that's where he spends most of his day, when he's inside under the tree. I guess he feels that affords him protection. I'm sure he enjoys the warmth of the house being inside. He certainly likes to spend these cold winter days inside. He's a good companion to Stephen. He takes great pride in taking care of Tiger, and when he's home alone, he likes to have Tiger with him as his security blanket, I suppose. Do let us know if your Christmas gifts arrive safely, particularly about the shirt. If we can't send a shirt in the mail, then I guess we're going to have to do something else. The new director of the office of the OAS in Chile is going to Santiago during the second week of January, and maybe I will ask him to take a couple of shirts with him and maybe deliver them to the mission home. He is from Venezuela. His name is Augusto Galli, Galli. He's been with the OAS for several years, and he's an appointee of the Secretary General, serves at his pleasure, and he's been in the States for 3 or 4 years. He's from Venezuela, speaks excellent English. I think he was educated here in the States someplace. So I might impose upon him to take a couple of shirts. We'll see. I checked the other day at Woody's to see if they had any short-sleeve white shirts, and they never heard of such a thing. They said not during this season of the year. So it may be difficult finding some white shirts during the winter months here. But I will check and see what we can do. But do let us know if you received the candy and the other goodies that were sent, and how they arrived, in crumbs or intact. I know when I was in Brazil, receiving food was a big thing, and that was always appreciated. We'll try and send you some more goodies if the ones we've already sent you arrive successfully. So do let us know. It certainly was good to hear your voice during Christmas. we're very proud of you and I think you should be very complimentary that your colleagues and members and the Mamita were very complimentary to you about what you're doing. We're very proud of you and very grateful that you're serving as a missionary. We'll be sending you further news from time to time, and this tape is about to end on this side, so we'll wish you well and hope that you get this tape soon. This is all from Fairfax, Virginia, USA. Bye.